everyone, it's Cecile. Welcome back to my channel. It is so crazy saying this, but I am now a senior at Brown University, about to graduate in like literally a month. I've been making videos like this for like 4 years now, and now that I'm on the other side of college, it's just so crazy looking back. So I really wanted to make this video for incoming freshmen or just people that are already like early on in college, just so I could like actually share what I think you need to know before college. Because now that I've gone through 4 years of it, I actually feel very qualified to be talking about this topic. So yeah, I'm gonna be covering both academic and personal advice, and I'm just super excited to be sharing this with you guys. And don't be surprised if you see a lot of reflection-like videos in the next few weeks, just because I've really been in my reflection mood now that college is coming to an end, and it's kind of sad. But anyways, let's get started with the video. Okay, so there are so many things that I want to cover in this video, so just for a quick little outline, I'm going to be talking about 5 tips for academic life and 5 tips for personal life, all of which are kind of geared towards freshmen, but I think are applicable to anyone in college right now, especially underclassmen. So jumping right into things, the very first piece of advice I wanted to give is that there's support for almost anything if you're willing to seek it out and ask and do the research. So this could be anything from like tutoring to financial assistance in terms of hardship, or even just testing accommodations. Oftentimes in college, it's just so overwhelming because there are so many different things that you're focusing on. You're worrying about your classes, your friends, that sort of thing. But there are also so many resources. When you think about it, so many classes of students have gone through the exact same thing that you're going through. Over time, these resources have accumulated, and oftentimes there's just a lot of advice that's sheltered within the university. Also, I think the best way to figure out these resources is talking to upperclassmen. I've had so many students come up to me and just like ask me questions like, where can I find this resource? What should I do if I'm in this situation? Do you know someone in this major? What should I take? Looking between two different classes or something. Thinking about my own experience, upperclassmen have taught me things like best places to study on campus, but then also just like how to get free printing, or like how to apply to different financial funds on campus to get support for like traveling or studying or applying to med school, things like that. And even just how to get connected for free mock interviews. So a lot of these are just like different small things, but I think together they've just made a huge impact throughout my entire college experience. And I don't think it's specific to Brown, because a lot of the students I've talked to, like my friends from other schools, have also experienced this and learned so much from upperclassmen. I know this sounds scary, and it's something that you're just gonna have to do throughout your life. It's something that I'm doing right now since I'm preparing to apply to medical school. So I'm reaching out to med students that are like years older than me and asking them questions about the schools, asking them for advice for my like secondaries, my supplementals. You will continually be asking people that are older than you for advice throughout your life. So the earlier you start, the more comfortable you get with it, the more you benefit, and the better it is. Okay, so my second piece of advice for you guys is that it is totally okay to take classes and do activities by yourself without friends. I feel like throughout school, I sacrificed like so many of my interests to like join classes that my friends were in, but then in the end, I never ended up like learning anything from those classes. I would just like sit there. Sure, I had a great time, but I feel like the classes that ended up being my favorite classes were ones that like I was truly interested in. Even if my friends didn't like those classes initially, I went in, I registered, I went in alone, and I ended up meeting people there. And I feel like the same thing applied to activities, extracurriculars, that kind of thing. I just ended up having to do my own thing to truly find it fulfilling, because otherwise I was like surrounded by friends, sure, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. And on the topic of clubs and activities, I just want to let you guys know that it is totally normal to be rejected from like opportunities across the campus, even like clubs and activities, because here you have to like apply for some because they're like pretty competitive. Like oftentimes you really just need 1 or 2 acceptances to just push you forward. So don't get discouraged, because we all go through it. And being someone that has been on the other end, like interviewing candidates, going through all these applications for clubs, it is oftentimes so competitive, and there are so many incredible people. It really does not reflect badly on you if you don't get into one opportunity. And honestly, I believe that rejection is redirection. So my 4th piece of advice is just something I wanted you guys to keep in mind. You are not behind, no matter how fast the people around you seem to be going and how much stuff they're involved in, as long as you're doing things at your pace, because everyone moves differently. We're all doing different opportunities. Some are more vocal than others, but I feel like honestly comparison is the thief of joy. But oftentimes like we all ended up in the same place. Even if you find yourself freshman year just focusing on classes, not really spending time doing extracurriculars, hanging out with friends a lot, I think that you aren't behind, and that setting up that strong foundation is more important than anything, and it will help you in the long run. So do things at your pace. Alrighty, so my 5th piece of advice is a resource dump. So Three main resources I wanted to highlight. First one, Google Calendar, because this has absolutely saved my life and I don't know how I survived my freshman and sophomore year not using it. Google Calendar has made it so much easier for me to multitask and do so many different things. At this point, if I have assignments that I need to get done, I set aside time specifically to do them on Google Calendar and then just keep shifting it around as I need to. Setting a designated time just really motivates me, since oftentimes I have trouble like really starting tasks. And also Google Calendar has just kept me so organized, so cannot recommend it enough. Not sponsored. None of these resources have sponsored me. I just want to share them with you guys. So next resource I want to highlight has actually been the most useful thing for me all of senior year. Like, I wish I had this earlier on in college. It's this website called honeybear.ai, and my friend actually created it with some other people. I know all of you guys use ChatGPT and all that AI stuff, but this is like a million times better, just trust me. So whether you're a STEM major having to read all these different research articles or just like a humanities major having to do assigned readings and such, you can just go on this website, upload any PDF, and then you can just like work with this AI bot and it can like summarize the text for you. It can write responses. It can answer questions. Like, this has helped so much with comprehension, especially for me reading all this literature as a STEM type of person. Like, oftentimes I will read a paragraph and I'm like, I have no clue what that means. But then Honey Bear has the answer and it's so easy to understand and it has helped me be so much smarter. And even better, they have this new tool where you can kind of like crop out a figure and it will help explain that figure to you. So once again, you can basically interact with it and like ask it these questions specifically for an image within that PDF. And then third resource you guys probably already know about, it's Quizlet. However, I do Quizlet a little bit differently. So my first few years, I used to take notes on Google Doc or like my iPad or something. And then later on when I was studying for the exam, I would transfer it to Quizlet, learn from those flashcards. It took me until this year, senior year, to realize that I could just take notes directly on Quizlet. And also Quizlet has like AI features, things like that I've used. But also for me, like taking notes on Quizlet has just been so much more efficient in classes. Now that I know that this is like the best learning style, like I learn best through flashcards, I'm just gonna start doing this for my future med school classes and like everything else, because it has been so much more efficient, saved me so much more time, and I can just like do Quizlet on the go while I'm still learning the content without having to like whip out my iPad or my notepad and like look over it. That was a lot of information, but now moving on to personal advice. Okay, so first thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is on every incoming freshman or underclassman's mind, is friend groups. I know you hear so many people say this, but genuinely, friend groups are far from solidified your freshman year. You will continue to meet so many people, and yes, the people you meet freshman year will become like your close friends just because like that's who you might attach to initially. The more you meet different people, the more you'll find others that fit your vibe even more than the people you were initially with, which I think explains why friendship groups are always changing and why oftentimes I don't think people are friends or as close to the people that they were close to freshman year. Because genuinely, I feel like freshman year friendships are like friends out of convenience. It's very similar to high school where like you could be your best friends, but at the same time you're meeting friends from like classes, activities, and being in the same region as them, just like proximity, that sort of thing. Then I feel like as you go along, you meet people that are more your vibe, have a lot of similarities to you, and I think that's completely normal, not something to stress about, and honestly, just have fun with it. Along those lines, I think it's really important to try to have a friend in every different space you're in. I'm not saying go into every space with a friend. Like for example, try to make a friend in every class because you never know when you'll need someone to like work on an assignment with you or send you notes. Try to make friends in like every activity you join for very similar reasons. Like genuinely, like approaching new events and like going to these new things is so much easier when you have a buddy with you. So whether it's your roommate or like someone you met from a class, like just having a person in each space that can kind of like represent the different things you're interested in or just kind of like go with you to different things is just really helpful. Something else that I think is really important to acknowledge is that college is a time where you're meeting so many different people at once. Like it's kind of like an overload of different possible friendship possibilities. And since you have so many people around, don't make excuses for someone and like keep spending time with someone that's very toxic or treating you badly just because there's so many other options out there. This isn't high school where you're surrounded by like the same people over and over again and you kind of have to like keep friends for convenience even if you don't really like love them or the way that they're treating you. In this case, I feel like you have so much more autonomy and you really get to choose who you're friends with. Genuinely, like stop making excuses for people. With that being said, my second piece of advice is just to force yourself out of your comfort zone. There's so many times where I didn't want to go to events that were like school sponsored or things that like I knew people were going to just because I was tired, I didn't feel like it, I was anxious. I just like kept making excuses for myself in my head. But for almost every single one of these events that I didn't go to, once I actually went there, I had the best time ever. And I was like, why did I almost not go to this? Like seriously, it makes me think now of all the things that like I didn't do because I was anxious or I was just like like scared, or I didn't know if I'd like know people there. And I just really regret not taking chances because I feel like I could have had the best time ever. So with that being said, definitely try to force yourself out of your comfort zone as much as you can. Remember that you're only going to get this college experience these 4 years once. Like, really just try to experience as much as you can, because who knows, you might have such a great time. I guess that transitions really well into my next point, which is like really create that work-life balance. Just because I feel like I knew so many people that were like on insane ends of the spectrum. And when you're working too often and like that's the only thing you care about, it can just honestly negatively impact your mental health and your entire college experience. And there are so many fun things that there are for you to experience in college. Achieving that balance has just been extremely important in just creating a good college experience. So really just try to like make breaks for yourself. If you use Google Calendar, like set up plans with your friends in advance if you know that they're busy. And honestly, all this transitions really well into my next point, which is the importance of having work-life balance. Like I knew people that would work 24/7. I knew people that were having fun 24/7. But like having an in-between is so important. I know it can be super tempting to just like prioritize your work all the time because like you're at college. A lot of you guys are like type A go-getters, but like at the same time, you have to create breaks for yourself because otherwise you will burn out. I've advised so many students, and I see the same thing like over and over again. Use your freshman year as a time where you can like also just explore the transition to college and have fun while you're at it. Yes, school is important and keeping those grades up is important, and reaching out to get those resources when you are struggling is also important. But being able to make time for social things is just something that you really can't compromise on. So if you are like me and you're using Google Calendar, if your friends are busy, like schedule something for you guys to do and like try to find things in your community, things hosted by your college. Like I know at Brown we have like an events at Brown page, which I literally just discovered last year. Like I don't know why it took me so long, but it has like all the events being hosted by the university in different departments like every single day of the month, which I wish I knew about sooner because there are so many like cool performances and things going on. We also have things like this free food group chat that like plugs different areas to get free food. So things like that can just be like super fun to go to. So definitely try to like just explore. And on the other side of the spectrum, I know it can be super tempting to just like use the freedom you have now and just like slack off, party, goof off, whatever. But at the same time, even with that, you do have to keep in mind you're in college for a reason. Like genuinely, eventually that life will become boring and you're gonna need other things to keep you occupied as the people around you just like focus on their work. And honestly, you will not experience FOMO if you end up gearing towards the work side a little bit more. Like don't worry about those things. Eventually, like every single fun experience like that feels the same. I know I'm kind of running short on time just because this is a super long video, so I'm kind of gonna combine tips 4 and 5 because I think they correlate. So I want to emphasize that it's super important to take care of your mental health, like more than anything, because if you're not at peace and like feeling mentally stable, you're not going to be able to literally do anything, whether it's work, fun, whatever it is. So definitely keep in mind your mental health, the mental health of your friends around you. And genuinely, I think most college students go through periods where their mental health is like not as great as they'd like it to be. I think it's completely normal, and conversations around mental health should be more normalized, and oftentimes there are university like therapy resources and things that you can do for that. And along those lines, something that I think a lot of freshmen struggle with, me included, like I definitely struggled with this, is FOMO, especially when it stems from social media. Social media just portrays such a false reality that I think has just stressed me out throughout college. Honestly, I've been guilty of it myself just because there's so much pressure to like convey a perfect life online and that sort of thing. I've seen people make these like perfect photo dumps knowing that they had like an insanely awful week that week, but then social media doesn't convey that at all. And so that's something that I would definitely recommend future students to just be aware of and like keep in mind as you're viewing those posts and like creating them yourself. But anyways, I think that's it for today's video just because I feel like I've covered so much material. As always, feel free to DM me on Instagram and my email's in the bio. I've had so much fun making these videos for you guys the past few years. I will definitely still be making these videos throughout my gap year in med school, and I'm so excited to take you guys with me through my journey. So thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day or night or whatever.